So I talked all that time and no one heard anything I was
I
saying.
heard it though. Karen says, "Good morning. I see you just fine, but I can't hear you."
Okay,
There we go.
all right, can you guys hear me now? I'm just gonna say it always works better when you have the microphone on. It's true. Um, so you guys can hear me now? Is that a thumbs up?
Not yet.
Testing, testing, testing.
Well, they won't be able to tell if you're not hearing us or not
Why?
because they can't. If you're saying, "Can you hear me?" and they can't hear you. Oh,
That
that's
is true.
better. Karen, you can hear us. Karen, Michael, got you now. Right. All right.
All right,
You're on.
cool.
All right.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the 169th episode of Let's Talk Koi. I'm Sean the Koi Guy. Welcome to Koi Market, 539 Deer Park Avenue, Dix Hills, New York. As I was saying, it is ridiculously hot. I'm not sure how hot it is by you guys, but here, as you can tell, and I'm kind of a horrible barometer because I could sweat in the freezer. So I'm not a good barometer when it comes to that. Yes, this is the fat guy telling you it's hot out, so it could be hot out. And if it was 60 degrees, I would still say it was too hot out. So yeah, it is what it is. But lots of stuff happening this week. I was saying that we have we do a lot of filter installs, guys. This is a big part of what we do here, especially in the summertime. Spring openings happen. We finished our spring openings, but we still have a few customers where the stragglers that they end up doing it very late in the season. It is what it is. But we move into filter upgrade season. And now it's every day we're going out and installing upgraded filters for customers. It's very common. We do a lot of green reset installs. We do a lot of bead filters. I would say we're probably one of the largest bead filter installers in the country. We install a lot of bead filters. But I wanted to give you a quick run around the stuff. Today is going to be a great conversation with Michael and I. We're going to talk about fish medications, water treatments. Lots of customers are buying koi, so I want to talk a little bit more about that. Quarantining procedures. We'll have a good conversation about that. Testing your water parameters. But I wanted you to just see how amazing everything is looking. You can see everything is in bloom. You see the iris are coming up at the top. Those weren't up last year. You can see the purple flowers up at the top there. The canna lilies are coming out. You can see the canna, the orange over there by the heron statue. You can see another one over here. You can see the flowers coming up. Absolutely gorgeous. We got purple. We have white over there, yellow and red. And it's my favorite time of year when you can see all these blooming. Soon the crepe myrtles are going to be blooming too, so those are going to look amazing. But I don't know, I love this time of year. You can see that the pond is absolutely crystal clear. We don't have a lot of fish in here. It's super well balanced. The high fin sharks, I put 5 in here, and they're starting to become a bit more, I wouldn't say friendly, but they're becoming a bit more bold. And they've been okay with swimming around, so I can see them a lot more. We'll take you over to the big pond over here, and we'll take a look at some of the other stuff. But everything is really in bloom and looks awesome. I have a Juan Visa over here. I have a couple of goldfish in this one. Now this is a Juan Visa water lily, and it's yellow and red. Sometimes it's half yellow, half red. This one is primarily red, but you can see some hints of yellow in it too. But how gorgeous is that? Got another flower coming up here, and another one down here, and another one right here. So you can see them coming up. This is what happens when they have good sunlight and they get good fertilization. So they're getting fertilized from the waste from the fish, which is great. You can see this whole bowl is really doing well. It's really looking great.
Michael asked us to show off the hyacinth.
Is that Michael Adrian?
No, it's great.
Okay. So the hyacinth are over here. So are you able to step over to that over there?
Yeah, I'll go around. You keep talking, I know where they are.
So the hyacinths have really taken off. So this entire area here, so this whole area that I'm pointing out with the camera, that was 4 hyacinths that took off like unbelievably crazy. Purple flowers are coming up. And you see when hyacinths don't have anywhere to grow, they grow upwards. So you have hyacinths that are literally growing. They're 3 feet tall in there. They're really doing well in that environment. So again, this is what happens when you have waste from the fish. The nutrient waste from the fish is helping to feed the aquatic plants and how well they do in that environment. And this is a perfect example of that is the hyacinth. The hyacinths are literally taking off in there. They really look great. Yeah, I mean that started out as just 4, and I actually took some of them out and I threw them in the bowl up top the other day, and the ones up in the bowl, I just threw a couple in there. And it's already from last week to this week. It's almost filled the bowl. Crazy, amazing. Hyacinth are just, interesting with hyacinth. So water hyacinths are illegal in any warm state. You can't, so they're legal here in New York because they die off, but a lot of the warmer states are not allowed to sell them because if you threw that into a waterway where there was none, it could fill up the entire waterway and block the waterways. And they won't go away because it's warm out, they won't die off. So they're really just legal in states where they'll die off. So I remember we had a customer years ago that had, they had like a 150-foot stream. And they put some hyacinth and they filled the entire stream up. And it took us like 20 or 30 garbage bags to throw them all. It was just all rotted in the winter. And it took 20 or 30 garbage bags just to throw them away. And that probably only started with a couple. They grow like crazy. They just grow like crazy. Interestingly, though, I haven't been able to get them to grow. They're growing in the waterfall here, but in the waterfall over here, which shuts off, they definitely don't do very well. But check out these flowers. Careful there. The guys love hanging out in here. Look at how big. Look at how big. I have a giant hand. Look at how big these pads are on these tropicals. And you can see the fish are all hanging out in here. So I took one of the new Aquascape bowls, one of their largest bowls. I believe it's a 24-inch bowl. And I planted 3 tropical lilies in there. Hi, guys. They're all hanging out over here. You can see another big flower is coming up right here, and another one's coming up here, and I could see another 1 or 2 there. This is the difference between tropicals and hardies, guys, is that the hardies will have some flowers, and they'll have some nice flowers, but they won't have nearly as many as the tropicals. But they'll come back every year versus the tropicals, which will not. So I like to mix it up. So this pond has a mix of both. I have tropicals here. I have tropicals over there. Over there, I have hardies. I don't have any flowers coming up over there right now on the hardies. And you can see the lotus is coming up in the corner. And finally, the elephant ear. This one right here, I thought was dead. I let it stay. I was like, you know what? It lost all the leaves on it, but now it's finally coming up. And that's a big leaf. And you can see the guys over on the other side really started to take off. There's one right in front of the other ones. You can see the 2 darker, and I think those are Hawaiian punch elephant ear. I forgot the one that's in front though. And the one that's in front is sitting in water too, but that one, why isn't it taking off? I don't know. So these guys here, these are actually in the water. These are in a boggy type area. They're not taking off nearly as well as the ones up there. Maybe the gravel is sifting out some of the nutrients before it gets to the plants. I don't know. But the liner is actually there. So they're actually in the water table. The ones that are back there also not taking off as well versus those guys there are really taking off. I have 1 or 2 in there that are going not as well as I'd like. So it's kind of hit or miss. So I have hyacinth in this waterfall here, but this waterfall shuts off. So every night at 6 o'clock, that shuts off. So it's not getting water. So there's a period where those hyacinths are sitting without water overnight. So they're not doing nearly as well as the other hyacinth, which is really the hyacinth right next to it. That waterfall is on 24 hours a day. So really interesting. So you can see the difference between having the nutrients at all times versus not having the nutrients at all times. Any questions or comments?
Well, we got a couple comments coming in.
Please.
We have a good morning from Jody.
Good morning, Jody.
And I'm blinded by the light myself, as happens. How many koi do you have in that pond? And from Nika, I think she's referring to the pond behind you.
So this pond definitely bends the rules a little bit. So this pond is around, with the basin there, I'm going to say we're about 11 to 12,000 gallons. I didn't actually put a gallonage meter on it. At 4 koi per 1,000 gallons. So you're looking at, if it was 11,000, you're looking at, 44 to 50 koi, which is probably about what we have in here. I do have, you can see there's one of my large high fins. I don't know if you can see him. He's right there. So are you able to see that on camera?
The sun glares.
The sun glare.
But hopefully they
So it actually looks very similar to a saltwater batfish. You guys ever seen a batfish in a saltwater aquarium? So that one there is almost a foot long, and it's kind of hard to see because of the reflection. But he was only 2 to 3 inches last year. So contrary to what I had previously thought that high fins didn't grow very quickly, they actually grow very quickly. The ones that I put into the pond here a couple of weeks ago have already doubled in size.
Tori says regarding the hyacinth, she lives in Florida, and they're known to eat up the canals and block canals in Florida.
Yes. So I'm not sure if they're illegal in Florida to sell them, but yeah. So you can see here I have a couple of different types of lilies in this pot here, and you can see a couple of different shades of purple right there. These look like 3 different flowers from 3 different plants right here, because I do have 3 lilies in that pot. I guess we need to fertilize those to get them to kick off. Now, if you have your lilies really deep, you'll get plenty of lily pads, but you're going to have a lot less flowers. So the more sun, I guess that the plant can get, that rhizome can get, the more flowers you're going to get, and the more fertilizer and nutrients you have in the water, the more it's going to flourish. And you can see in this pond that it's really doing nicely.
We have a question from Dana.
Yes. Hi, Dana.
How many inches of water loss a day is normal with a waterfall on 24 hours a day?
All right. So that's a kind of a loaded question, because a big part of that is how much drama you have in the waterfall. So do you have a lot of drops? Do you have a lot of potential for splash? Is the waterfall dropping directly into the ponds? If it's not dropping directly and you have a lot of splash in the pond, then you have the potential to lose quite a bit more water from evaporation.
So if you say, looking at what we have here in frame, and I think they can hear me because I'm close enough, would you consider that a lot of drama happening with all these?
There's a decent amount of drama here. So we have, just from evaporation, where it's basically going to evaporate into the ether, I mean, you're probably going to lose potentially almost an inch a day. We're in full sun here. So, and that's also another factor, is the pond in full sun? Is it in partial sun? So you're going to get more evaporation from that as well. But this pond I have the urns up front. I have the Infinity Edge waterfall. I have these 3 spheres here. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I have 8 other drops just in this waterfall. So you're going to get a lot of evaporation the more drama you have.
Jason says the Key Itsurian, the pond is gorgeous.
Yes, that is a kin Kiyutsuri. We actually just sold that fish. So both of them, so the Ginrin Kiyutsuri and the Kin Kiyutsuri are both sold to one of my customers. This Ginrin Goshiki is also sold. My customer is actually in London right now. When they get back, they're going to get their fish.
Tona says in Texas, the hyacinth is considered invasive. She'd love to have some, but they are illegal in Texas.
So we have the same thing with what do you call it? Parrot's feather. So I love parrot's feather. It's a great plant in the ponds, but parrot's feather will actually survive the winter. So it's now illegal to have parrot's feather, and we are not allowed to sell it. If you get caught selling it, they could shut you down, or you get a major fine.
Dana says you answered her question. Thanks for explaining the splash and drama.
Cool. I have my little secret stash here of food here. These guys know when I move this that it's food time. Hi guys. Hi, how are you? We're just filming a show here. Sorry, go ahead. What were you looking for?
Yeah, this kind of plants. Jeto, these are big. South big grow.
So you're in the wrong location. We only sell aquatic plants.
Oh.
So American Nursery next door sells all these other.
Just go there and then.
Just go out, make a right, and then but tell them Coin Market sent you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the name of
American Nursery next door. Yep. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But you can look around. There's koi houses there and there. All have fish in them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeto. How can I have this in front of my house?
You want to have what?
How can I have this in front of my house?
This is not something I would advise putting in front of your house.
Oh, in the back.
In the back of your house, yes. You put it in front. So I'm actually filming. I have like a live show going on. Ooh, careful. That's okay. I have a live show going on, so I can actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to answer this question during the show.
Yes, sure.
So this customer just walked in. Say hi.
I love this.
And
I'm gonna have it in my house.
And she asked the question, which is a really good question. The question was, I'd like to put this in front of my house. Now, different towns have different laws in regards to having something in front of your house. Generally, you have to treat a pond like a swimming pool. It's got to have a 5-foot fence, self-locking gates, because what happens is a pond is like an if you build it, they will come scenario. So if you put a pond in front of your house, kids from the neighbor, you may not be home, kids from the neighborhood are going to come and people are going to come and someone may fall in there.
Fall in there and throw stuff in there too.
Right.
That's not supposed to.
But what you could do is what we call a pondless waterfall in the front of the house. So if you walk around and look over in this corner over here, it's called a pondless waterfall. This is a pondless waterfall too, here. So this whole thing here that comes down, so that doesn't go into a fish pond. There's no fish in here. So that starts here and it follows this stream all the way down and it goes in there and it recirculates. Yeah, that's a fake tree.
That's a fake tree.
Yeah, that's fake tree. But if you walk around here, go around there, and then go over to this waterfall here, you'll see a pondless waterfall that you could do in front of your house. Yeah.
In front of the house, but this.
You don't want to put I wouldn't advise putting a pond in front of your house. Now we have customers that have them. I just think you're.
Because I've been somewhere that the person have it in front of the house.
I think you're opening up a can of worms. As in, like, you're opening up the potential for a lawsuit.
Okay.
Because, God forbid, someone falls in, gets hurt, a kid, something happens.
Yeah, it was right in front of your house.
Yeah, so they're going to come after you.
Oh my God, I love this.
But put it in the back of your house where it's protected. So, any questions? Thank you. Any questions regarding what we just talked about? I'm happy to answer. This is something that comes up all the time. We have customers that come in and they ask, I want to put a pond in front of the house. We won't do it. So we work with a few contractors, and the contractor will, if they do it, they'll actually have them sign a waiver saying, the customer, indemnify, the pond builder of any, legal action, for building this in front of the house. Because some towns may allow it, but that doesn't mean that you should do it, because you do open yourself up to the potential for something happening.
And the fish.
And you know what? People will just come up to your pond, and I've heard landscapers telling me stories all the time. Like, I planted up this whole house. Overnight, someone came, they watched us doing it, and they came and they stole all the plants. Because they were just walked up to them and they just grabbed them right out of the ground. They pop right up. I know I'm sweating. I should change my shirt. Yeah.
You will.
All right. We're gonna go this way, guys. Feel free to walk around everywhere. You can go into those koi houses and take a look.
I want to ask a question.
Yes.
That's sometimes they eat them.
Who?
They eat them.
Who's they? People?
I mean, people eat this kind of fish.
Well, koi are carp. So carp is actually the most eaten fish in the entire world except for the United States.
Okay.
It is a bony fish.
So like it's to me it's like unfair to eat them. It's unfair to me because they're so cute.
Yeah. Well, we try the amount of money that they cost.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to eat them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
You're very welcome. So I don't know if you guys had any other questions. We're going to go inside where it's a little bit cooler.
Jeremy says the secret food hiding place is no secret, no more.
Yes, there's no secret, no more. But it works out pretty good. I like the stump there because it gives people a place to sit. Aquascape makes those. That one is actually for hiding a propane tank. They have two different ones. They have one with and one without holes in it. The one without holes, either one of them can be used as a seat, though. But I want to go back to this pond just because I love seeing all the flowers. There's a high-fin shark against the wall right there. See that striped fish against the wall? Do you see it? And he's literally double the size of the ones that I have for sale here, and he's grown so fast. And all these guys do all day long is eat the algae off the walls.
So they help clean up the pond.
They do. I mean, I have 5 of them in here. I have 10 in the big pond, and I could probably use some more. But they're great algae eaters.
They're working fish.
Yeah, they're working for their food. They certainly are. But I saw 3 of them swimming around in here the other day, and they were kind of hanging out together. They survived the winters, which is really cool. And they're it's so funny. Like, I have all these koi in here, and I get more excited about the high-fin sharks when I get to see them because they're very elusive. They hide a lot and they don't come out very often. So we do have a couple of things going on this week that I want to talk about. So we're going to go inside.
Okay.
What?
I think maybe we could keep the auction tent.
Tank.
But no,
No, because
we'll keep it under wraps.
Yeah. So going now from outside to inside, feels much cooler in here. But wow, that's like a 1-minute delay. Yeah.
Are you on Facebook or
Well,
YouTube?
Michael, how long does it take for me to come inside? All right, 30 seconds. All right, so we're going to come on over here. I have the fan over here. Holy crap, it's so hot. So we're going to skip over to here, and Michael is going to come over here, and I'm going to pop over here. Where do you want each of us?
Either side, one on each.
All right.
Yeah. Want to sit on that side?
I can sit here. I don't mind. You can see we still have Fred Woodward's wall of art here. If anyone's interested in any of these pieces to hang on their wall. Very cool pieces. He did a nice job with the framing too on them. They'll be coming down, putting some other. I'd like to put some art up from my friend Kevin Warren. My father-in-law has done a lot of the paintings here. We want to do those as well. Michael, come on in. You can pop in over here, or over here, whatever's easier for you to get around to.
Is your microphone on, Sean? The DJI, make sure it's powered up.
It's green. Now it's on.
All right, great. So you guys should be talking. People should be able to hear you.
So what I wanted to do today is, number one, talk about some of the things we've had going on and that we have coming up. So we've been doing auctions. So in the summertime, it's a bit different when it comes to our live shows. We do once November comes around, we do our live shows Saturday mornings, and we've been doing that for years, and that's been great. It's always worked out really well. And we'd like to keep doing that. But we started doing a Wednesday, and right now it went from monthly. Now we're doing it every 2 weeks, and we may go to weekly as we get closer towards the end of the season. And Brooklyn's out there. So the auctions have been great, and we've been doing them Wednesday nights, and that's worked out really well. So, which am I looking there?
On the middle camera right now, so
okay. All right. So we've been doing them on Wednesday evenings, and if you haven't been a part of them, please do. Our next one is coming up. We have a nice big auction. We have 24 koi. I have 14 Tosai and 10 Nisai and Sansai. So we have 24 koi total coming up on Wednesday the 23rd, correct? Wednesday the 23rd, we start at 6:45 pre-show, and then the auction goes live at 7 o'clock. So we're doing that on both our Facebook channels, so the Sean Coin Market Rosen channel, as well as the Coin Market Aquatic Nursery channel, as well as our YouTube channel. So please join us. We're having a lot of fun. We have a special guest, my friend Rich Walker, a comedian, will be here. So I'm looking forward to having him here. And it should be pretty cool. Rich, he actually lives local, and I asked him to be a part of it. So he's just going to come in and hang out, and it should make the entire show even more fun. We had a really good time last time, and I thought, let me ask a friend of mine who happens to be one of the top comedians on Long Island to come out here and be a part of the show. So that should be pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
You guys know this guy next to me. Michael has been a part of Coin Market for as long as I can remember. And we were going to talk about a few things. Really, this time of year, Michael, lots of things are going on. So you got customers buying fish. So there's quarantine protocols. You have birds that are migrating and hanging out around the ponds that could potentially be bringing parasitic issues to ponds. There are super hot weather, so you have aeration concerns. We had a conversation about aeration last week, and we talked about the potential of having battery backup aeration just in case. We've had some conversation about quarantine procedures. We've had conversations about treating prophylactically. This time of year is generally, you shouldn't have to be worried as much about your water parameters. That being said, if you do have a water parameter issue at this time, then there's some other problems. You could potentially, if you're at this point in the season seeing ammonia issues, nitrite issues, then you're overfeeding, or your filtration system is just not adequate for
or you're not
the amount
maintaining
of
the pond.
or you're not maintaining the pond. So I thought that it would be a great opportunity for questions and answers. I don't know if you want to go and talk a little bit about quarantining your fish. Lots of people are buying fish now. This is the time of season when customers are out, they're buying fish, they're bringing them to their ponds. Not everyone has an opportunity to quarantine their fish. They have to hope that whoever they're buying them from is also quarantining their fish beforehand. They've made sure that their fish are of the best health that they can be.
Yeah.
You always want to buy from You know, and
reputable dealers.
let's talk about the buying fish process and you know, kind of that process of what you need to you know, just the steps you should try and take, whether you have a quarantine setup that's separate, or if you don't, like what you should do.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously it's always preferable to have a quarantine setup, but again, not everybody has the budget nor the space for that. So, you know, we have to accommodate for those people who don't have that luxury and need to do it a different way.
If they let's start with, if they do have a quarantine setup, like does it need to be a certain size, like filtration wise, like can it be a basic filter, or you should probably have really good filtration on something like this?
So you definitely don't need like the top filtration, but you definitely need something that will do the job, because the quarantine process should really be about 2 weeks. You know, if you're buying from a reputable dealer who's already doing a lot of this for you. Like us, we do it for a month, if not longer. So, you know, 2 weeks is more than enough to do the quarantine process, and you're really just trying to make sure that the fish is as healthy as it can be before it enters your pond. Size wise for a quarantine setup, if it's just a couple of toci, then, you know, about 150 gallons would be adequate for that 2 week time frame, as long as you're testing your water parameters on a daily basis and doing the kind of maintenance that you need on those filters. If you're a customer who buys bigger fish, then you're definitely going to need something bigger. A 250 to an 500 gallon quarantine at minimum to house for size, not stress them out in a tight holding container.
You keep going. I'm going to go and help these customers really quickly.
Sure.
I'm going to put these right here. Waiting. But you need to have a quarantine should be a very clean.
Yes. So quarantine, just like in hospitals, just like in anything else, has to be a very clean setup. Obviously, with fish, it's never going to be sterile, but you want it to be clean enough that, you know, the water parameters are correct. Your water quality is pristine. You know, you don't want dirty water. You know, this is where the fish are the most stressed, is when you're getting them from being shipped to your house. You want to make sure that they're as stress-free as possible. You want to make sure that the water quality is as pristine as possible, just so that they can acclimate to their new environment. And yes, this is an intermediary step before they actually end up into your pond. You're trying to make sure that their immune system is as elevated as possible so that they can transfer correctly.
Need a bottle of water?
No, I'm okay. Always put a net on top of your quarantine setup as well. Most people don't understand that, but fish in a new environment, regardless of where they're coming from, have a tendency to be a little stressed out and jump. So if you don't put a net over it, you may be very sad the very next day when you see their fish outside of the pond, because they do jump. And that's, you know, stuff that we learn over time, which is we're now relaying to you guys to make sure that you guys also do the same thing. Is there any questions before I move on?
We do have a question, yes. This one. It's from Karen J.
Okay.
Actually, well, is this microphone over there?
Yes.
All right, we have a question from Karen J. Asks, so the koi I bought from you, why would they either lose color or get darker when I put them in my pond or my pond? Could it be water parameters are different, ours versus hers? I know my pH is probably a little higher than yours, or is it because your fish are inside when you put, not sure what she means by that, but basically changing colors, different ponds.
So especially if it's sumi or black, that will always change regardless of where you are. So in Japan, it's very soft water, which sumi development is very poor. Red development or beni development, very great in a soft water environment. But sumi development in harder water will get darker or progress more the harder water that you have. So yes, between yours and our pond, you may have a hardness difference, which will cause it to go darker. For example, I got a Ginrin Chagoi from Japan over the winter time, and when we brought him in, it was a a very light brown. I brought him into my pond. Now he's really dark. So that's par for course when you have a hardness difference. And everywhere on the island, Karen, since you're on Long Island, every place in Long Island has a little bit difference in hardness. And the sun does play a part in it too. Water temperature also plays a part in it too. So you'll see in harder water and hotter water, the sumi will develop. Colder water, the opposite. And that's really why it's going to change color. Plus, you may also have fish that do rely on that color change to get to where it needs to go as it matures. So you'll have the most proponent fish would be Kikos, Kikos, Beni Kikos, Kuminaru. They fluctuate very much with temperature and hardness of water so that their sumi comes in and out. You also have Goshiki, which will get harder in harder water. Their gray or sumi will also get darker. So that's really where that's coming from. It's not necessarily that the fish is bad or that your water quality is bad. It's just a matter of hardness.
Another question from Keith asks, do quarantine tanks need to cycle before adding fish?
So that's a great question. And the problem with cycling is unless you're preparing it with ammonia and allowing bacteria to grow, you'll never be able to actually cycle the tank unless you're doing that. Filters are not just going to naturally cycle on their own just because you're running them with nothing in it for a week or two. This is not an aquarium where things are a little bit different. This is a pond. You're going to have to either run ammonia in the pond as a food source and then start adding your beneficial bacteria, or you're going to have to put fish in there and then make sure that you're testing your water parameters on a daily basis and adjusting as necessary. So that would include, checking your ammonia and your nitrite. If you guys want to go in, you can. Yeah, you can go through.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so you test your ammonia on a daily basis. And, speaking about ammonia, if you do have ammonia, but you're running some sort of prophylactic medication, such as a broad spectrum or Prazi or pure nitro in the pond or the quarantine setup, and you don't want to do water changes because you don't want to waste the medication for ammonia, then you're going to use something like Chloramax to neutralize the ammonia, and you're dosing this every 48 hours so that you can continue doing the medication and not have to waste the water and re-add medication again. If you have a nitrite issue, all you need is pond salt in the water. And obviously the level of pond salt that you put in there will depend on what kind of medication you're running. If you're running a broad spectrum, you can't be doing that. But it's a 3-day treatment, so it's quick enough that the nitrite won't show until probably after this is done if you're doing this first. Other stuff like Prazi or nitro, you can run salt in the pond, so you can actually be okay with a nitrite issue as long as you have pond salt in the water.
So I'm just showing our quarantine tank for a second there.
Sure. So does it make it easier if you have a quarantine setup that's cycled? Absolutely. Do you need it? Not if you have everything on hand that you need to do to react to anything that's happening.
Next question. My microphone. Okay, my microphone's back on. What are some basic pond maintenance tips for beginners, like Pond 101 maintenance?
So Pond 101 maintenance, and you're going to have many different people say many different things. Pond builders or quote unquote pond builders will always say never do anything to the pond, just leave it alone. Garbage. Don't ever listen to that. So you have to consider a pond a living ecosystem, but also a toilet. If you don't flush the toilet, it gets gross. So your regular 101 maintenance is going to be doing water changes and cleaning out your filters, depending on what kind of filtration you have. I don't care if it's a bog, if it's a wetland, if it's a pressurized filter, if it's just a filter waterfall box with pads in it. You want to do some sort of water change on a weekly basis, some sort of cleaning on a weekly basis. So if you have a bog and if you build it correctly and you have a void on the bottom, you drain that out. or you vacuum it out, or you put a pump in there and you take out all the debris that it's supposedly catching. If you're doing a pressure filter, you're going to wash out the pressure filter using its backwash function. If you have a skimmer and waterfall box where it has pads in it, again, water change, take out those pads, rinse out those pads, and put them back in. The debris will be caught, but it won't leave unless you're actually physically taking it out. There's no, just because you have bacteria, the waste goes away. No, the waste just gets degraded, but it still stays there. And the more waste that you harbor in the pond, the worse the water quality is going to be. And people always say to me, well, my water quality is clear. My water is very clear. My water is crystal clear. It doesn't matter. A crystal clear pond doesn't mean it's always healthy. You have to make sure that you're doing what you should be doing by cleaning it out, cleaning out all the waste and debris out of the pond and making it healthy.
Okay, we got another question. This one is from Jim. Besides shade, is there anything you could do for a sunburned fish?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's not like humans where you'll get sunburned. You just, moisturize a little bit more often and let the skin rebuild. This is a much different setup, and really there's not really much that you can do besides now, if you're having that issue, adding more shade. A sun sail, yeah, right, a shade sail, that's what it's called, a shade sail, or putting a canopy. I just saw Rachel and Chris Shiflett put a pergola on top of their pond. So really, one, it depends on your budget, but two, just trying to shade the pond over, maybe adding more aquatic plants to give more coverage so that the fish can hide under and provide shade. Really, it all depends on your pond setup and how elaborate you want to go. Most people will just go the aquatic plant route because, one, it beautifies the pond, and it's also beneficial because it's taking out ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. But sometimes you want a little bit extra. Maybe you live in a very hot state with a lot of hot, dry heat. You put a sail, or you put some sort of canopy or pergola or some sort over the pond, and that will keep it covered a little bit more. There's no SPF 50 for the fish, unfortunately.
And we got one more from Lloyd. He says he's made it to the show. The monster's here. Now, did you
What's
ship
up,
him?
Lloyd?
Did you ship him a fish? Explain what the monster
No,
is.
it's Lloyd Lightsey.
Yes.
Lloyd Lightsey. He is the owner of forgive me if I'm wrong, Pond Masters. He's a company out in Florida who builds awesome looking ponds. Lloyd, I hope you're doing well and everything's going well with you. I know you had some issues, but I know you're doing everything you can. You and your wife are doing everything you can. So I'm glad you made it to the show. And I'll tell Sean you said hi when he comes back.
And he has a question. Is an autofill enough with evaporation to replacement as in doing a water change?
No. So I see where you're going. Okay, you know, pond water evaporated, there's your water change. No. So the reason for a water change is to remove water from the pond. And you're not just removing the water, you're removing waste that could be suspended in the water. You're removing hormones and other things that the fish are releasing. So this leads me into a little bit of a tangent where people always say the fish grow to their environment, and that's not true. So these fish release a growth inhibiting hormone, which is how naturally in a natural environment they'll be able to tell whether they should continue growing, reproduce, and such in that kind of tight environment. If you're doing water changes, you're now reducing that inhibitor hormone, which allows fish to grow to their full potential of size without being limited naturally by this hormone. So you can have a very large koi in a very small pond because you're doing the water changes. So no, evaporation is not enough as a water change. You want to physically remove 10 to 20% of water and then refresh with water. You're now diluting whatever is in the water, plus you're doing your filter cleanings. So now you're really reducing, all the waste and all that stuff.
Next question is from Josh K. How do you cycle your pond to get the proper bacteria ready before you add fish?
Okay, so if you wanted to cycle a pond before you add fish, the only way to do that is by giving it the right food source. The only food source that this particular bacteria relies on is ammonia. That is the waste product that fish produce. So for you to do that prior to having fish in the pond, because you want to prophylactically get it cycled, which is fine, you have to go buy dry ammonia, add the right amount to get it up to a certain point. So for me, when I used to do this before, I would get it around a 0.5 to a 1 ppm, and then heavy dose on your nitrifying bacteria. There's a difference between the beneficial bacteria that you're adding on a weekly basis and the nitrifying bacteria. The nitrifying bacteria is what's going to convert that ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. If you don't have that nitrifying bacteria and you're just doing beneficial bacteria that has no nitrifying bacteria, then it's never going to happen as quickly as you'd want. Which is why, sometimes you add the fish in first and you kind of deal with it, and it's going to be a slow process, especially if it's a new pond. If it's a seasoned, filter or seasoned pond, different story. But that would be the way to do it. You have to find nitrifying bacteria, add that in on a, daily to every 48 hours, depending on the instructions of which one you're using. And then making sure that the levels are doing what it needs to. If the ammonia dips down, add some more dry ammonia. Keep on adding until you start seeing that nitrite spike. Keep on adding a little bit of ammonia, maybe decreasing it as you start seeing the nitrite spike. Once that nitrite spike, which is the slower one to happen, to go away, then you can start, reducing the amount of ammonia. You're still going to have to be putting in, but not as much to elevate it to that first initial level. And then once you see them both die off and you're still adding the same amount of ammonia on a daily basis, then you can start bringing in fish and then lay off adding the dry ammonia into the pond.
Lloyd says, thank you. That was very helpful. He needed that information.
That's it?
For now, yeah.
Okay. I don't remember where I was before.
Huh.
Okay. So yeah, this is where people want to learn more, is this particular area of ponding where, quarantine setups or how to introduce new fish. And rule number one always comes down to knowing where you're buying it from. There's plenty of dealers out there. There's reputable dealers, and then there's dealers that are not, so reputable. We'll leave it at that. You really want to do your research. There's lots of dealers out there. Some of them have big names, some of them don't have big names, but you want to be doing your research. You don't want to just be buying the cheapest koi you can find. And I know, budget is always a thing, and I totally get that. But if you're going to go buy anything that is cheap, or, you have a little bit of a bad gut feeling because it may not be coming from the cleanest place or whatever it may be, that's where quarantine setups are very, very important. Where you want to be doing quarantining your fish before you're adding them into the pond, especially if you have other fish in the pond.
Absolutely, yes. One of these guys would be able to help you out, but yes.
Thank you. What's your name?
Sean should help you out, the big guy. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's rule number one, making sure you're doing your research prior to buying fish from anywhere. So with us, you guys know that we're very transparent. We do a 30-day minimum quarantine treatment. We go through treating everything under the sun, getting a KHV tested, making sure that they're going through every sort of cycle that it needs to happen to keep them as healthy as possible. If they're not ready for sale after those 30 days, we don't put them out for sale. They stay in quarantine until they are. Anything that is good moves up to the front, ready for sale. And that's the biggest thing. And then when it comes to your house, you want to make sure that you're also doing your due diligence. You have a quarantine tank. We've went over that. If you have that, great. If you don't, then you're going to have to run the risk of putting those fish that you just purchased into your pond and then prophylactically treating the entire pond with any sort of medication that you think they may need. What would that be? The easiest prophylactic treatment would be a broad spectrum. Very easy, 3-day treatment. You put this into the pond. As long as your pond doesn't have any salt level, then you do this for 3 consecutive days, and now you've treated the pond for your parasites and fungal infections, a very broad array of them. Another treatment that I suggest to people when they get new fish in would be pure nitro. For 2 things. One, it's bacterial. So, and it's not bacterial like an antibiotic bacterial where, if you use it too often, they can get resistant. This is a antimicrobial treatment where it's killing off, all sorts of bacteria, but it also helps the fish with ammonia burn. So it's very soothing to their gills, especially if they had a long flight. If you're, God forbid, the flight was delayed and now instead of it coming within 12 hours, it came in 20 or 24, the fish is going to be stressed, obviously. I mean, even from Japan, they're stressed. And that's a 30-hour flight. Well, 30-hour time frame, not a 30-hour flight. So, running something like pure nitro in the pond will at least soothe the body, soothe the gills. But again, when you're running an antimicrobial or antibacterial medication such as pure nitro, it does have a bit of a bump on your regular beneficial bacteria. So when you're doing something like this, you just double the dose of your beneficial bacteria that you're running on your weekly basis. How's it going? Yeah. So those 2 are very good to use, and then you also have your pond salt right here. Lots of people will use this, and this is great for after you're done with these treatments, which you can't do together, you do them separately. This is what I usually use last in my quarantine setup is salt. I run usually a very high level of salt just to make sure that they're de-stressed, their slime coat is where it should be. Any potential for viral infections such as a CEV infection will be omitted. And the other important thing that we didn't touch on yet for a quarantine setup is temperature. It needs to be at the right temperature. It cannot be too cold or else these medications won't work and nothing that you're doing is actually being benefited. So for a quarantine setup, you want it to be around 72 degrees. You want it to be warmer. You want to make sure that it is in an area where you're not going to have Aeromonas alley, which is below that temperature, causing more issues to occur because it's cold. But you also want the fish's immune system to be up to par for these medications to actually take good effect on the entire ecosystem of that said quarantine setup or your pond if you don't have one, if you don't have a quarantine setup.
Josh asks a question. With a new pond, what steps are needed before you add fish, if any? So the pond's built out. What do you got to do before you get the fish in there?
Okay, so I'm going to assume it's a brand new pond. Nothing is in there. You just got it built and you want to add fish. If that's the case, then one, you have to make sure that whoever built the pond did a cleaning on the pond. Why do I say that? Is the rocks that they use, they're not cleaned. They just come out of the ground. They get put on a pallet. They have a bunch of dirt and debris and all that stuff. So when Sean and I used to build ponds, we would build everything, make sure everything is running, drain it out, power wash all the rocks again, and refill. Sometimes you'd have to do it maybe 1 or 2 more times after that, depending on how dirty the rocks were. This is especially even more beneficial to do, especially if you have a rock bottom pond, because those rocks definitely harbor a lot of dirt and debris, and that will take more drain and refills to do that. So that would be the first thing. Make sure your pond is as clean as can be before you add fish. Make sure your filtration is adequate. When you start getting fish, once you put them in, you're going to acclimate them, start adding your beneficial bacteria right into the pond. Then, if you didn't go through the cycling or seasoning process that we just talked about previously, and start testing your water on a daily basis until your cycles go through, and have everything on hand that you need. Chloramax for your ammonia neutralization and pond salt for your nitrite spike. Good. No questions for now. All right. Keep on asking questions, guys. This is a open Q&A, so feel free to go through and ask us more questions. Some other products that we have here. One of our best-selling products here is your bacterial control koi food. This is done when needed. Okay, this is not something that you use prophylactically. You want to make sure that when you're treating for stuff, you're not going to end up, creating a resistance in your own pond. Use them when necessary. Bacterial infections do arise at various points in the year. It's more prominent when you're in the Aeromonas alley temperatures, which is below 70 degrees. But also if you're not maintaining your pond chemistry is not in order, things get introduced into the pond, which is always possible. Maybe a bird swooped in and injured a fish. Now you have an open wound that causes bacterial infections to arise. Because again, all fish in the environment have bacterial, pathogenic bacteria and parasites and all that stuff already on them. But their immune system, their slime coat, their external microbes are keeping everything in check, keeping the fish healthy. Once that dwindles, whether they have a depressed immune system or an open wound or something like that, then you start introducing all the nasty stuff back, and then you start getting infections, bacterial infections, parasitic infections, and then your fish are not happy. So use certain products when necessary, such as this one. If you do want to start prophylactically preventing bacterial infections from arising, that would be a product like Koi Defender. You're doing this on a weekly basis, and you're starting this right at 50 degrees water temperature, which is generally when most people start opening up their ponds. So you start using this right at 50 degrees, and you stop using it in the wintertime if you live in one of those states where you close down your pond at 50 degrees. Doing this on a weekly basis increases the bacterial load of this specialized bacteria that defends and destroys pathogenic bacteria being your Aeromonas and Pseudomonas bacteria. These bacteria are normally in the pond and can fluctuate in levels throughout the year depending on the kind of maintenance that you're doing on the pond, such and such, that we've talked about. Doing this on a weekly basis keeps them at an all-time low, keeps your pond healthy, your fish healthier, and prevents bacterial infections from arising. However, this is not a 100% guarantee. This is what I like to instill into my customers as insurance. It's very cheap. You use it on a weekly basis. It's very powerful. And it prevents a lot of the little minutiae bacterial infections. Oh, my fish has redness. Oh, my fish has a little red scale. It prevents all that stuff. Now, if something does happen and you have a really bad bacterial infection, then that's when you start going for a heavier treatment. And you can still use this. You just double the dose. And you're just making sure that your pond is as clean as can be. So this is your bacterial medications. It's not a medication, but a prophylactic treatment.
What is we have two different gyms with two different questions. Jim L, what is the shelf life of an unopened package of the medicated food?
So it's 2 years. There are, an expiration date on them, but it's generally 2 years. Keep it in a cool, dry place. If you want to keep it for longer term storage, keep it in a refrigerator. The only problem is once you put it in the fridge, it has to stay in the fridge. So you pull it out, you go feed the fish with it, you go replace the food right back into the fridge. The only reason why I say that is keeping it in the refrigerator and opening it consistently introduces moisture into the package. Moisture, if not kept under control, will actually mold the food up. And so to keep it as fresh as possible and not prevent it from molding or spoiling because you're keeping it in the refrigerator, you have to always keep on replacing it in the refrigerator.
And the other Jim writes, my koi spawned this year. They have 3 baby koi. What do I do for baby koi?
So, congratulations. You're now a father of probably 100 fish. But all jokes aside, so I guess the fish are in the pond. If you can separate them, that'd be great. More than likely, you're not going to be able to. The little guys, they're going to really feed off the algae on the side of the pond. But if they do have a place where they congregate a lot, lots of people will take the pellets that they already feed their current fish and crush them up into more of a powder and toss it in that area. That way it makes it sizable for the little fish to eat. Keeping your water parameters the right way. Don't be upset if the little guys get stuck in the skimmer or in the bottom drain or the fish are eating them. Unfortunately, that's par for course. That's why you'll never get, the million fish that, Japan can produce, because it's in an organic environment where, the fish don't know that's their babies. It's just a food source. But yeah. Good?
Yes, we're caught up.
Okay. Where did I leave off? So we did these. Then we have Pure Prazi, another great prophylactic treatment to be doing in the spring and the fall, just like your broad spectrum. This is great for solving all your fluke issues. And I know lots of people online will say like Prazi doesn't always work. And that's really, if you have a consistent issue in your pond, then wherever that issue is originating from, which could be from birds or other rodents, could be bringing in other strains of fluke, which does happen. That's natural in the world of parasites, viruses, and bacteria. But Prazi, nonetheless, is still the safest fluke medication to be using. You do have 2 dosages on this bottle, which you can use for a preventative, and you have a severe infestation. You can, use this with salt if you're just using this by itself. If you are using it with broad spectrum, you can actually do these both together, and they actually work well because this is the dissolving agent for this. Makes it very easy. There was something else I wanted to say, and now I can't remember. It'll come to me at some point. But yeah, super easy to use. Koi Pharma is very high purity, Prazi, and yeah, there's not much more I can say. I mean, I deal with this enough that there's 99% of the time this will do the trick if you have a fluke infestation. That is the biggest thing in this part of the hobby. You have to know what you have. If you're doing the shotgun approach, which some people, that's all they can do, don't be, ashamed that, what you're using may not be working, and don't complain that it's not working because you may not know exactly what you're dealing with, which is, there's not much you can do unless you start scraping and scoping, or you're bringing in a vet, or you're starting to correlate the right symptoms or, effects of the fish that they're having to a certain disease. You just have to know what you're dealing with. Be prepared, have things in your medicine cabinet ready to go at any given point. Because if you're ordering this, and you need it right away, you have to pay for expedited shipping, or you have to wait if you're ordering it regular ground shipping for it to come on time. So lots of these stuff you should have on hand if it has a long shelf life, which all these products do, and just be ready to combat anything that's going to happen. Any questions? Okay. We talked about Chloramax, great product. Use it for dechlorination and ammonia detoxification or neutralization. Been using this for years. It's great if you're using it for an ammonia detoxification or neutralization. You use it every 48 hours because this does affect your ammonia test readings. Speaking about testers, please please stop using the strips. It's a little annoying when people say, yeah, I've been testing my water with the strips, because one, the color is never correct and they dry out way too quickly. If you're using it for like a pool or something where it's not detrimental if the reading is slightly off, that's fine. This is something where, a 0.5 and a 1 ppm ammonia makes a world of a difference when the fish's health is on the line. So that's really where you want to be. So use a liquid test kit, please. KH is super, super important. And we had this conversation plenty of times, and I know lots of people sometimes don't seem to understand the concept. But your KH is something that's going to, one, buffer your pH. So especially, where we had a bunch of rainstorms this year, especially on the island, the rainwater is getting more and more acidic every single year. And if your pond is not buffered with KH and it rains very heavily, your pH will naturally, from the rain, dip into the acidic region and then come back up really quickly back into your neutral range where you were before it rained. And then you're going to have inexplicable fish death. And then everybody always asks, why did my fish die? There's nothing on them, no stress, no redness, no ulcerations, no nothing. They just died out of nowhere. And it rained, the last night or the 2 nights before. That's 99% of the time they don't stabilize their KH. So keeping your KH at around 125 ppm will make sure that your pH stabilizes around 8.3, 8.4 max. And that's okay. Everybody always complains, well, the pond should be 7. The fish are okay at an 8.3. It's going to be perfectly fine. And the one thing with a wide range pH liquid test kit, if you don't get the one that's more specific, it will fluctuate between an 8 and a 9, because sometimes the test kit can't tell the difference and the color just changes to one or the other. And it's fine. A 9 is still okay. The max that you should be in a pond is at a 9 pH, but 7.5 to an 8 to an 8.5, depending on how accurate your test is for pH, will be fine. Your fish are going to be great. Your plants are going to be healthy. There's nothing going to be wrong with a slightly higher pH, because you're doing this as, again, another insurance to make sure that your fish stay healthy. It does help with your beneficial bacteria as well as your nitrification cycle. So that's something that we didn't touch on earlier, is that if you have KH, it acts as a catalyst for all the beneficial bacteria, which would be your sludge eating, your sludge removing, as well as your nitrification bacteria, to work even harder, because now it's in an environment where it has a catalyst to push a little harder. This does help with the vibrance of fish, keeping your KH at a proper level. There was a friend of mine who also works in the industry, where she told me that if the KH is a little off, you also see your fish at a different angle. So a bit of a stabilization effect if your KH is too low. Your KH is where it should be, your fish will swim straight, and if they're floating in the water, not moving, they will sit straight. Improper KH, sometimes you'll see them angle down. So KH is very, very important. It's something that lots of people overlook. It's something that test kits don't have. You have to buy separately to test. You want to make sure you have enough KH in your pond. So when you use like the API liquid test one, 7 drops or 125 ppm is where you're going to need to be. When you're using Koi Pharma's pure KH stabilizer, it's half a cup per 1,000 gallons of water to buffer your KH by 20 points. So you want to be around a 7. You test your water beforehand before adding this. That way you know how much KH stabilizer to add. Any questions? All right. 2 more products. We talked about pond salt already. I like to use this as a de-stressor. So lots of people will use this consistently in the pond. Perfectly fine if that's the way you were attuned to doing it. You just don't want it always at too high of a level. One, why? Because if you need to do a medication like broad spectrum, now you have to do a very, very heavy water change, but also have a salt meter on hand to know that you are in the safe range to do something like this. If it's too high, it's going to start killing your fish. Two, too high of a salt level will also make them, and the word is not immune, but that's the only word that I can think of at the moment. It will make the fish kind of immune to that salinity, so that if something does go wrong, that salinity level will no longer be able to be helpful. Does it still work? Yes. Is it going to be as helpful as it was before? No. And your slime coat development is where you should be as well. Mhm. Is that the only one that's left? So that's that.
You have a question? We do have a question here from Lloyd again. Your thoughts on calibrated and monitored digital meters?
So that's a great question. So every meter at some point in time needs some sort of calibration. So here at the shop, we use the Koimetic Pro, which is the really long stick that does pH and salt. Sure, you can bring it. Yeah, there should be one on the shelf. Second shelf over. No, probably third shelf over, closer to the bottom, in a plastic box. So these meters do require calibration at certain points in time. If you're using it often, then you're going to be doing it probably every 3 to 6 months. Recalibrating it with the little packets that the company will provide that you can buy online. If you're not using it,
Having a problem with a wholesale customer. I cannot get the wholesale to work.
okay, go in the back end, go under customer, look up that customer, and make sure that under the tags it says approved.
All right, you got to make sure that under the tags for that customer that it's
We wait online and then somebody will help us.
Yes, are you looking for something specific? Are you looking for something?
Get some fish.
Yes. So they're just working on something, and then Griffin will be able to help you out.
Yeah, but we've been looking around.
You got it. Sorry about that. But yes, somebody will be able to help you out.
I don't know what I want. It's been so long.
I got you. Okay. Back in place.
Well, let's get another shoot.
Sure.
We haven't had our pond up for probably 2 or 3 years. What we had early on date was we got hit with a bird that came down and
Mhm.
cleaned us out.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you can do other than netting?
So yes, you can do, if you don't want to do netting.
Is there anything that
Okay. If you want to bring the laptop here, and I'll do it. Two things. You can either do fishing line across the pond, zigzag pattern, so that it prevents the bird from actually successfully swooping. What we've been testing out since our grand opening here is a swan, which is that big white bird
Uh-huh.
on the top. As long as the swan keeps moving around the
key.
pond, then being that the swan is such a territorial bird,
I think I even tried something that had a battery and it moved a little bit at one time. I'm going way back in the beginning.
and that works too. So that's
It
the
didn't
motion
work too
sensor.
well 'cause we have a big tree next. We got a bunch of trees. And every morning, that goddamn bird is sitting up there waiting for us to get away from the pond.
Oh, I get it.
And just comes flying down and whoop, grabs it and off she goes.
Totally get it. Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. I know it.
But yeah, the swan definitely helps. So you'll tie like a rock or something that's just slightly above the bottom of the pond. That will allow the bird to still encircle the area and not stay in one stationary place.
We did build in the ponds some I'll
Call
call
them
them
over.
caves in the
It's done.
caves in the base of the pond, and so the fish, the ones that we used
Tell them to
have,
try it now.
would go under that. They'd sneak under that. with
Yep.
What they felt was dangerous.
Yep. Yep. So having more hiding areas will help too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have that. But
You're leaving?
whatever.
It was good seeing
Thank
you again.
So
You're welcome.
get on my-
Still doing a video?
Oh yeah, always.
You want to say hi?
It's good seeing you again.
Was hanging out with your husband last week.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, got a nice poncho. Small little guy.
Awesome.
Perfect circle. Fantastic.
Awesome. As long as you're happy, then we're happy too.
It's true. Have a good one.
You too now. Okay. Back to the conversation. So the Koimetic Pro, which is this longer salinity and pH tester.
Okay. We should be back live with the audio.
Okay, so if you're doing something like what we're doing here in a slightly overstocked tank, but with still adequate filtration, then yes, you want to be testing on it daily to every 2 days to make sure that your water parameters are staying at bay. So if I had a preference, if you're just regular type of pond keeper or semi-professional pond keeper, then a generic calibrated tester is going to be what you need. It's going to be a little bit more cost effective than a system that's consistently monitoring. But again, sometimes it's a convenience issue. The monitored one, it's on your phone. You get to check it. You can be in Europe with your pond still here in the States, and you're like, okay, my ammonia is at 0, nitrate's at 0, everything's okay. Really comes down to preference, but in my personal opinion, if you have everything done correctly, your filtration's done correctly, fish are generally healthy, then a regular calibrated meter is going to be all you need to do what you need to do when that time comes. I think I answered that. If not, feel free to follow up. Totally okay with that.
The sound is back up.
Perfect.
And put on the screen. My microphone's on. And we put on the screen right there is the QR code. So if you're interested in the Koi Medic Pro, just scan that QR code and we'll take you right to the product page.
I mean, again, it's not a cheap meter, but it is pretty convenient. It does salinity, it does temperature, and does pH. If you're using it consistently, then it is beneficial. See that? We do have one more product to talk about. Unless you guys have other questions, feel free to shoot them over to me. And that would be the carbon, pure activated carbon. And this is not a product that everyone needs. It's really used on a case-by-case basis. And that is due to any sort of toxins in the water or tannins in the water. So let's start with the easiest one, which is the tannins. If you live in an area where you have a bunch of oak and maple trees and they start dropping their flowers, once it lands in the pond, it basically becomes like a tea bag and it starts releasing tannins, making the water brown. Using carbon, either in a skimmer or a waterflow box would be preferable. Anywhere where there's lots of high water flow will remove the tannins naturally. So the carbon, having water flow through it will then start detoxifying those tannins and clearing up the water. The other great reason to use activated carbon is if you use a medication, for example, pure nitro, or some people have also had the effect of the food if you feed them. If you have a heavy fish load and you're feeding a lot, the water will turn sometimes a reddish brown color. Using carbon then after will clear up the staining of the medication. It will also neutralize any sort of medication that's in the water. So if you have the inability to do a water change, which quite honestly, I would recommend you first solving that issue. But if you don't have the ability to do a water change, but you needed to use a medication like pure nitro or a medication like pure broad spectrum, and you need to then inactivate the medication from being in its usable form, then you just run carbon in the system. So if you have a 1,000-gallon pond or a 2,000-gallon pond, let's start with a 1,000-gallon pond. You're going to use half of a 5-pound container, put it in the skimmer, let it run for about a week. And that will pretty much neutralize all the medication that's in there. You can keep the carbon in there. It's not going to be a bad thing to leave in there if you're not going to run any more medications. But if you have nitro, which turns the water like a yellowish green, after the medication is done, the water is going to still stay that kind of color even after a decent water change. That hue doesn't go away very quickly unless you're doing something like carbon. Again, if you're doing the food and you have that effect of having it turn a little bit brownish because you have a heavy fish load and you're feeding a lot to get everybody to be fed, use the carbon right after. If you're using broad spectrum and you can't do a water change, even though, again, we should first solve on how to fix that. If you don't, and you need to inactivate this after its third day, use carbon. It's a very multi-versatile tool. It's not going to be affected if you overdose it. If you have a 1,000-gallon pond and use the whole 5-pound bucket, you're not hurting anything. It's a variety of chemical filtration that purifies the water. Some people will use a carbon filter to remove the chlorine out of water, but it doesn't remove the heavy metals and stuff like that. So if it's just a chlorine issue that you're having, carbon will also dechlorinate the water. Slower, but it does do it. Okay. Let me know if anybody has any questions in regards to anything that I talked about. Happy to answer them.
The Koi Pharma bacterial control Koi food QR code is on the screen right now. So if anybody wants to scan that code, they
if
can.
anybody is interested in the Koi Pharma food, you are more than welcome to use the QR code that's on there. Purchase yourself some. If you need some in your medicine cabinet, have it. Keep it in a cool, dry place. If you need to store for an extra year, which would be a 3-year shelf life, then I would suggest refrigerating it. Again, if you refrigerate it, you always have to make sure you replace it in the refrigerator after it's being used. Big thing to remember if you're doing that. If you're not, cool, dry place, and it's going to be perfectly fine for the 2 years. Okay, so I'm going to wait for you guys to ask some questions. Not much of a storyteller like Sean, so I can't tell you what I did over the weekend. You got a question for me?
Do I have a question? Not right now, but I'll come up with one. Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
That works. Yeah. We are having the auction on Wednesday night.
Yes.
Be prepared for that. If you are still looking for some prized fish, we are, again, releasing some of our grow outs slowly on these auctions. We do have some larger fish also available. So we are doing a mixed size, mixed age auction this week, which I think will be fun.
If you give me a moment, I can pull up some of the types of koi. Yeah, give me a moment.
Yeah.
I'll type that in.
So Chad's going to pull up some of the fish that are going to be on the show, just as a quick sneak peek. Also, keep a lookout on our Facebook pages. We'll be, posting about it coming up. Again, it's going to be another auction style, so it allows people to be interactive. You're going to have fish that we haven't had yet available, as well as some fish that we have had available. So growl fish that we've been holding on to for what? It's been months now since we've had them, and we got them to a really good size. We got them tiny, and now they're, they're big. They're really big. So you guys can benefit from that by joining us on the auction. If you're a new customer that's going to be joining, if you're watching us now and you're interested in joining, if you are interested in buying a fish, just be prepared to provide us with some information on the spot. The fish are to be shipped out rather quickly because it is the time to be shipping them out. There's no temperature regulations or anything now.
So here's some of the fish that we do have. Now this list might change,
Okay.
but as of now, we have a golden dragon, a Doitsu Kahaku, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing these wrong, Ginrin Showa, a Budogoromo, a Marutin Budogoromo, thank you. This one I can never pronounce, but you get to make fun of me for saying it, so have fun. Kikokoryo.
That's why I just say Kiko.
Kiko.
It's
Okay,
so
all right.
much
Is that
easier.
we can go with that? All right.
Yes, you can shorten it to Kiko.
All right. A Tancho Budogoromo, which I took pictures of this week, is absolutely gorgeous.
Awesome.
I'm Tanchos are definitely my favorite because they're so simple, but then you can add to it.
Yeah.
I'm totally a Tancho guy. And oh gosh, Matsu Kawabake. I got it right? Matsu Kawabake. See, I'm learning that. And then on the bigger side, we have a very large Kirin, which is gorgeous, and Tanchu Showa. Now that might change, but those are some of the ones that we were looking at for this week.
Awesome. So yeah, you guys have a very large selection to choose from when you're on the auction. Are we giving a preview sometime before the auction?
Yeah, I'm hoping by Monday or Tuesday we'll have that preview up. It'll be on the Facebook channels, both Sean's page and the shop's page, as well as our YouTube channel. And we're constantly updating both the YouTube channel and the Facebook channel as well. We're starting to get into YouTube Shorts. And if people have little questions, we can also answer in video format. So if you have questions throughout the week, we can also get those answers up there live.
That's a great thing. So if you guys do have questions where we can answer it in a video format to also provide more information to people that may have the same question as you do, feel free to send them in. Either you can DM us or on one of our videos, just send us the question like, hey, you guys should make a video about XYZ. And that helps us out to making sure that you guys have a consistent knowledge base from experts to you guys. And if you are looking for something specific, be on the lookout for the post of the sneak preview of the fish that we're going to have to offer on the show, on the auction on Wednesday night. What is it at 7?
So with the auction on Wednesday, it's 6:45 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk for 15 minutes. That gives everyone a chance to get online. It gives us 15 minutes to get the technology going, as people who jump on early kind of see, like, it takes a minute to get the technology. We're constantly upgrading our technology. As you can see today, we have 4 different cameras going on today's show, a bunch of different microphone inputs. So it does take a little time. And then from 6:45 to 7, we're prepping, we're talking, we're encouraging viewers to ask their questions, and then at 7 o'clock we'll begin the auction. We're going to move pretty fast, like we did for last week's auction as well. Same bidding format, which was very well received. So that's where we're going to go.
Awesome.
And Rachel does ask a question, and she says, "We needing a Tancho Buddha." She needs a Tancho Buddha.
You're gonna have the option, and I know you're also looking for a yellow dragon. So stay tuned for that.
We do have a key dragon coming up in one of the next 3 auctions. Because I definitely took a picture of a key, meaning yellow, right?
Yes.
So you guys are teaching me. We do have a key dragon coming up in one of the next 3 auctions.
So there you go. So keep on the lookout, Rachel. I know you've been looking and dying for a yellow dragon. We will have that, and those Buddhas that you're looking for will be on this next auction. So feel free to join us.
And Keith asks a question: if you've never been on one of our auctions, can we pre-register? Keith L. Okay. Can we pre-register for the auction?
So there's no requirement for pre-registration. I know there's going to be a different technology used in the near future, and
Yes.
before we actually fully implement it and integrate it into our regular regimen, we'll make sure to give you enough ample lead time to make sure if there is a registration process, how to do it, make sure that you're all ready to go for that. But for this auction that's coming up, you're just going to join us like you do now. Be ready to bid, be ready, to go on your keyboard and type that you want it, or type that, what your bidding price will be.
If you've bought from us in the past, we do have your information and stuff
Yes.
like that, so it does make it easier. Keith, if you've never purchased from us before, I'm not sure if you have or haven't, feel free to give the store a call and just say, hey, I might be bidding. Here's my information.
Yeah, that will definitely hasten the process. If you know you're going to be interested in something, give us a call. Give the store a call. That way, we'll be able to answer you a little bit more, or you can DM us, with your information, first and last name, phone number, email address, shipping address, and then somebody would follow up with you in regards to getting it shipped out.
Yeah, that's
If
the
you
best
do
way to
win something.
pre-register for now.
Yeah, for now that would be it. Just streamlines everything. But is it required? No. If you buy something, then we're going to need it from you on that deck. Unless you guys have any other questions, that's all I can talk about. Yeah.
Busy day in the store.
Yeah, it has been busy. I'm surprised I haven't helped anybody out, because it's a little aggravating for me to be sitting here and seeing that there's 5 people waiting. But yeah, it's been a very busy day. If you guys are on Long Island and need something for your pond, feel free to come on down. We are open until 6 o'clock. We are also open tomorrow from 10 to 5. If you do have a question, feel free to call the store, 516-809-6771.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Okay. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you guys on Wednesday night. If you're not interested in buying but still want to show up, feel free to join. It's fun. You're going to have the comedian. What was his name? Rick?
Oh, I forget his name. Oh,
Rick?
Here comes Sean.
What was your
What's the name of the
comedian's
comedian?
name?
Rich Walker.
Rich.
Rich Walker,
Okay.
yes, friend of the
Walker
show.
will be coming to join us. Yeah. So
Yeah, so
Wednesday the 23rd.
Wednesday the 23rd, 6:45, pre-show, 7 o'clock starts the auction. Comedian Rich Walker, a Long Island guy, going to join us and have some fun with Sean. So it's going to be a fun hangout as well. So like you said, even if you're not going to bid on the fish or your
Feel free
pond's
to join.
full, watch the show. It's going to be a lot of fun this week.
Yeah. Bring your friends. Share the link. Tell them to just join.
And the link will be up by on our YouTube page and our Facebook pages, both Sean's individual personal page if you're on there, and on our Facebook page for the store. We're going to have an event page. It's going to be created, and that event page will be up today before 3 o'clock Eastern time. So by 3 o'clock Eastern time, we'll have an event page, and that event page will also be on our YouTube channel, so you can turn on notifications for that or let people know about the auction as well. So you'll be able to pass all those links on. Lloyd, I see your question right here. You will share a link for the auction so I can pass it to my customers. Absolutely.
Yes.
The link will be live for the show by 3 p.m. Eastern time today.
Yep. So the event page, you'll be able to click that you're interested. Facebook or YouTube will then start sending you notifications prior to the show when the show is happening to make sure that you have your notifications turned on and be ready to join.
No,
All right.
good.
Guys, have a great weekend. If you have any other questions post-show, feel free to DM us or give us a call at the store. We'll be happy to help you out. If you do have fish on hold and you're local and you want to come pick them up, just let us know and you can pick them up.